Welcome to Wholesale Hardknocks. This podcast was created by me and Daryll squatting up together and doing badass shit. And we want y'all to do the same. So most importantly, squat up in the comments and do deals together. And then like the video, subscribe to the channels. Yo, Daryll, take them away, big dog.
It's about community building. Join the community, reach out, squat up, join the campfire, baby.
Let's go.
Episode 40, baby. We back. Talk about consistency, bro.
Back in this joint. What up, big dog?
How you doing, man?
I'm just going through the things this week, just making shit happen.
I love it.
Making this thing called real estate happen.
Yes, sir.
A lot of deals going on, bro. A lot of stuff going on with some of the deals that we're closing on and stuff like that. It's been a good learning week. I learned a lot this week off of the deals that we're closing.
I love it, bro.
Which is important, bro. That's literally, I've learned like the majority of my stuff from going through the deals.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You learn so much by even just doing your first wholesale deal. If you've never done a deal before, just doing one wholesale deal alone will give you the whole understanding of how a real estate transaction happens. And that alone is like millions of dollars worth of education. So if you guys are listening right now, if you guys can just get your freaking hands on a transaction, however possible, make it a goal here in this first quarter of 2023 to get your hands on a transaction, whether it's being the closer, being the transaction coordinator, whatever it is, get your freaking hands on a transaction. If you need help with that, shoot me and Daryll a DM. Because we will help you get your first deal. That's me. That's what me and Daryll are looking to do this year. Get as many people their first deal as possible. Didn't mean to do that.
Oh man. Yo, Mike. So today on Wholesale Hardknocks, episode 40, bro, we're talking about one of my favorite subjects, bro, with one of the dopest people that I've met recently, bro. What do we got in store for today?
We got my guy, Kash Money Mike. And to my channel, my people watching, he's no stranger. There he is. He ain't no stranger. Kash Money Mike has been on my YouTube page a bunch of times. Literally every single time Kash comes on my YouTube page, I get DMs like, yo, that shit was fire. Fire episode, fire episode, fire episode. Yo, how do I get in touch with Kash? How do I get in touch with Kash? Well, he's here back yet again for another episode going over some seller finance stuff. You guys really better watch out. This cat is coming up. Like, talk about seller finance in the real estate industry at all. You guys are going to hear Kash's name. Kash, what up, bro?
What's up, man? I appreciate you having me back on. What's going on, Daryll? What's going on, Mike? I appreciate you guys having me.
Yes, sir. We did a Zoom, like a free Zoom about, what was it? Probably about a month ago. Yeah, around Christmas time. Kash came in and just freaking lit the Zoom on fire. Like, the people were like, holy crap. And now, like, Kash, I appreciate you coming back, dog, as always.
Brother, anything for you, man. All you got to do is make the call. I'm always here for you. I appreciate you having me back. Yeah, man, those live Zooms are a lot of fun, yeah? We got a lot of people inside a room and a lot of like-minded investors. So I always love doing those. I try to run one maybe like every month or so. I'll put it out on Instagram and try to get as many people into a room as we can and just kind of have a real estate party, man. I love it.
That's dope.
That's really what it is.
Kash, so I haven't had the privilege of having you on my channel, on my YouTube channel yet. This is actually the first time. So for the people who don't know you, who are coming from my side of things, who is Kash Money Mike?
Whew, that's a long story. My name is Mike Termini. They know me as Kash Money Mike out on the social media platforms. I'm a buy and hold investor and a seller finance educator inside the space. I've got about 21 years in the game, had some fantastic failures, some fantastic successes. Obviously, you don't get to the successes without having the failures. I've got students from across the country that I educate every single month and try to really just give to this community as much as I can. I've had a real passion for real estate ever since I was super young, and to finally be where I believe I was meant to be and be able to come on things like this and have you guys on me here. I mean, it's just amazing. So I appreciate you guys having me. Yeah, but that's my background though. I have I didn't give myself the name Cash Money Mike either. I know some people are like, this guy's crazy, man. He's giving himself the name Cash Money Mike.
Where'd it come from, bro?
So my daughter, I've got 3 kids, and my girl is my oldest, and she's my only athlete. My 2 boys couldn't throw a rock and hit this whiteboard from where I stand. And she is a Division I softball player, and which is amazing because I had coached her up her entire career. And ultimately for women's sports, when it comes to softball, the highest you can get is collegiate. There's no pro after that. So all of these young girls are always working towards the goal of playing collegiately. And to have my daughter play at the highest level is just amazing. But I would coach these teams, and all of the kids would want to play on, my team. All of the parents would want their kids to play on my team. I had a real knack for coaching. Believe it or not, I use a lot of the softball stuff and my coaching in softball inside my training in real estate. And we had won a game one day, and my daughter was getting right around the time where some of her older friends were driving because she would constantly play up. She'd be the youngest kid in there playing on an 18U or a 16U division. And we're standing in this huddle, and I'm breaking down the game, and I'm like, man, you guys have done amazing today. Like, just kill. You guys were amazing on the bases. Beautiful shots, Wayne, way to stay focused. And she goes, I'm starving, Dad. And I reach down into my pocket and I pull out $100 bill, and the pitcher goes, Cash Money Mike. And I go, man. And sure enough, it's stuck. There have been people calling me Cash Money Mike for the longest time, especially softball players. So that's how it kind of came about. Yeah.
I freaking love it. Dude, that name is so sticky. It's so funny. My girl, right? She'll be like, oh, you're getting on live with Cash Money Mike. And I'm like, why do you love saying that name? She's just like, I don't know. That name just hits.
Yeah, it's a catchy one. So I'm excited that it's stuck, and I'm glad that it resonates. But it's funny because everything that I do in the seller finance realm or the creative real estate realm has nothing to do with cash.
Literally. That's kind of ironic.
Yeah.
I love it. So what we'd like to talk about whenever we bring guests up, right? Typically our guests will have some sort of niche, especially in real estate. We have the majority of our guests that come up are in the real estate industry, and they'll have some sort of niche within the real estate industry. So let's go into Cash Money Mike's niche.
Seller finance. It's 2 words. Creative real estate, I think, is an umbrella, right? I mean, we've got all of these different types of deals that kind of fall under the creative real estate umbrella. Mm-hmm. But my real main focus and my real main niche is really seller finance, showing investors how to gain an unfair advantage over their competition by showing them how to create. I hate to use the word generational wealth because there's these young kids in these families that come behind us that if we're not really teaching them, how to preserve this money, by the time we're all looking at the roof of the church, those kids are going to have a for sale sign in the yard as we're right. So like really, really trying to understand long-term sustainable wealth is really my niche. So I take the acquisition strategy as seller finance and I couple it with the big money game and understand how there are certain things that you want from your investments. I think there's so much confusion, not only in the real estate space, but just in the investment space, that like you really don't know which strategies are wealth building strategies. There's so many people get into this game that, wholesale is the shiny thing. And if wholesale becomes a little bit difficult where we are in this market now, maybe it's to novate, or maybe it's sub 2, or maybe it's seller finance, or maybe it's hybrid. And what I come across often, specifically with my students, is they can't decipher between which strategies are the wealth building strategies. They're confused because in this country, we're so trained to stack cash. We want our cash now. If we click the mouse and Amazon's not at the door in like 2 minutes, we're upset by it. So it's this cash now mentality that my real niche is seller finance, coupling it with the money game, showing you how to create sustainable wealth. That's the lane that I kind of stay in.
I love it. So pretty much what you're teaching your students is, instead of going out and generating this active income where you're, hustling and bustling to get wholesale deals done or fix and flips or whatever the case is, right? You're like, dude, just learn how to structure seller finance deals. And if you learn how to structure seller finance deals and just buy them, you will have generational wealth, meaning you can have some passive cash flow that comes in the door without you having to go get a freaking contract. Two, you'll also be able to refinance and keep refinancing and refinancing and refinancing and refinancing to pull out the cash. Is that pretty much what you're saying?
Yeah, that's the biggest piece of the puzzle. So even if it wasn't a seller finance deal, I just bought a 13 unit complex I'm under contract on that we're not taking down seller finance. We're just taking it down traditionally. And we've got partners on it and stuff, but just being able to, number one, identify those deals. Number two, being able to create those deals. Number three, being able to purchase them at a deep enough discount, even if it is traditional, and always looking for a value add play where we can kind of force appreciation. We could force value this way. Once it's managed correctly and it's stabilized correctly, we can then go back to the bank and say, hey, listen, look at how good we've been doing, right? Here are the P&Ls now. Here is what was, here is what is, and here is where we're going with it. This way we can get back to the bank and ultimately be able to wring the asset dry, pull the cash out completely tax-free, and go buy another piece of property.
So good. Mike, so it sounds like seller finance is everything to you. How does somebody get into seller their first seller finance deal? If I'm brand new in the game, never done a deal before, how do I get my first seller finance deal?
That's a great question. And here's what's so great about it is that you technically don't have to change anything that you're doing now, right? You can prospect the exact same way. Obviously, if you're going to take a seller finance deal or an novation deal or a hybrid deal, whatever it may be, you're always going to lead with cash. And the real confusion, I think, is there's so many investors that love the idea of seller finance, but want to use it as an option and not a solution. Because they can pay more, they want to fire it out of their mouths like real quick and ultimately, use it as an option. So for people who are looking to get their first seller finance deal, there's this one question. The thing about seller finance too, and you'll hear this from other educators, right? Like everybody has their own kind of way of framing things up. And in my experience in real estate, that it's all about how you frame up some of these questions, some of these lines, so that you don't put the seller on their heels and they get nervous. Like, in other words, they don't understand what the word seller finance means. They don't understand what terms are. They don't understand what balloons are. So you're trying to find different ways to ask the same question. So to answer your question, Daryll, and I know this is a long-winded answer, but if you're always going to lead with cash and money is the most important thing inside of a real estate transaction and cash just won't work, it's how do I get the seller to open up to the possibility of maybe taking more money, making more money. And in that case, I'm looking for one thing, and it's time. So you prospect for cash, cash doesn't work, and you simply say to the seller without making them feel nervous is, Mr. Seller, if I gave you what you wanted or I gave you more than what you wanted, how much time would you give me to pay it off? And effectively, I've just structured, or I'm about to negotiate my balloon period, right? So, and then little things like equal monthly payments, ultimately is 0% interest. Speaking in terms of payments rather than years to get people, off of the fence about, oh my God, it's going to take you 15 years to pay me off. Instead of me saying, hey, Mr. Seller, would you accept my seller finance terms and have me balloon you out in 15 years? it sounds much better saying, hey, if I can make you 180 payments and have that payment hit your account every single month after I've done all the qualification, and I know that that's the most important thing, it's trying to find different ways to ask what most investors believe is, is invasive questions, or they're scared to ask.
I got you.
Yeah, it's not what you say, and yeah, it's not what you say; it's how you say it.
I
Right?
say, yeah.
That's really what it's about.
I tell my team all the time, you want to explain it like you're speaking to like a kindergartner. You want a kindergartner to be able to understand it,
Mhm.
And
I mean, if it's not in crayon language for me, I don't get it either, right? Like it's got to be super easy for somebody to kind of chew on and digest.
so
Yeah, because you go ahead, bro.
no, go ahead, bro. Go ahead, because I was gonna take it. I was gonna take it somewhere else.
Well, I was gonna say, a lot of people will hop on the phone and they'll be like, "Hey, yeah, if I give you some terms, you want to do a deal?" And they're like, "Wait, what the hell do you mean terms? Like, you gonna give me some grades on a report card or something? Like, what the hell is a term?" And it scares the shit out of them. And then they're like, "Hold on, what the heck? No, 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 no." So what I do, right, is one, keep it very simple, just like you're saying. So like when I'm talking about a novation agreement, or let's say a sub to, I'm not saying subject to, I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying, hey, why don't I just take the responsibility of your mortgage?
Mm-hmm.
And that's much easier. That's a much easier conversation, right? And then from there, yeah, right here, bro. And then from there, what I'll do is I actually don't go for cash first. That's what a lot of people will teach. A lot of people will teach go for cash first. I'm like, dude, why the hell am I going to go for cash first? Sorry, I have the trash guy over here. But a lot of people are like, why go for cash first so you cancel out cash? But I'm like, why the hell would I go for cash first if I already know that cash is not the way? Like I'm dealing with a lead right now in Florida who has a big ass house. Okay. She's moving to Italy. The house is in mint condition. I would never give her a cash offer. It makes absolutely no sense for her to sell her property for cash.
But you told her that though, right?
Yeah.
That's the point, right? I don't want anybody to miss that in the crowd, right? I don't want anybody to just jump straight to terms without at least explaining to the sellers why you can't give them cash. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just as important, right? Like either you give a cash offer or you disqualify and show them why cash doesn't work at all.
Right. Yeah. So to your point, I guess I'm like, that's a really good thing to point out, because a lot of people will hear like, hey, cancel out cash, meaning in their brain, they think it's give a cash offer.
Yeah.
That's not what canceling out cash is. I guess I do cancel out cash, and I cancel it out by just explaining to them, like I explained to this lady in Florida, hey, I actually do a bunch of fix and flips, right? Like I buy houses in cash. I'll put a little bit of love into them and put them back up on the market. Obviously, that's not what your property is like made for, right? Your property is to be sold probably on the market to a retail buyer and da 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 da. And then I keep going into her situation and everything, and then I wrap her whole situation into why a seller finance deal would make way more sense than even going on the market. But to your point, I guess I did cancel out cash. But let's actually really hammer that home. Do not cancel out cash by giving a cash offer. That's not what canceling out cash is. Canceling out cash is getting them to understand why a cash offer doesn't make sense.
Yep.
I love that. Thank you for pointing that out.
I always say I don't ever want to be the bad guy, right? I want somebody else to be the bad guy. I have the other wholesalers that have been giving them low ball offers. They can be bad guys. Real estate agents are bad guys. My partner's a bad guy. My underwriter's a bad guy, but not me, right? So that's how we go about that. So, Mike, I love that. My fault. We got two mics up here. Cash Money Mike. Hey, so we talked about seller finance. We cancel cash out first. We go to seller finance. Why would a seller do this in the first place?
That's like the second most important question or most common question that I get. And ultimately, to kind of circle back to the points that you guys were just making, right? My intention on the phone is to seek the intention of the seller. So I don't necessarily, when I say lead with cash, I am really digging deep to kind of understand where people are, what they want to have happen, what the timing looks like on that. And I think, again, people get so nervous about asking some of these invasive questions or what they perceive to be invasive questions. And what I like to do is kind of hide that behind the rapport. So every situation is different. I mean, I've got students that have made literally, I mean, $500,000 with the stroke of a pen because we knew what the seller needed, which wasn't a lot of money. We knew where they were going. We knew what they were buying. We knew what interest rate they were paying. And I remember when my student had come back to me, he's like, why are you asking all of these questions? Like, when are we going to get to the numbers? And I go, the numbers have nothing to do with this. Like, if I can find out where these people are going and why they're going there and what they need, I can help you to frame it up. And he goes, well, what do you mean? I go, well, here's what we're going to do. You're going to go back and you're going to offer them X amount of money because we knew they wanted $5,000 in cash. I knew what kind of money my student was playing with. I said, I want you to go back, offer them $15,000 in cash, and then tell them that you're going to get them to live for free. And he was like, oh, that's genius. I go, the only way we get there, though, is by really understanding what the seller wants. So, I mean, 45% of all the homes in America are completely paid off. I think it's some crazy statistic, like 28% of those are vacant. So, I mean, high equity lists, expired lists, tired landlords. The more I play, I got out of single family a little while ago and I'm playing just in multifamily. What I love about the multifamily play is there's a real sweet spot in there where you can kind of pick up a really good deal. And it's because every single property is mismanaged. And management is where real estate goes to die. Right? I mean, if you pull up to a property and the property is distressed on the outside, you can almost guarantee that the property is going to be distressed on the inside. And if the property is distressed on the inside, that means they're probably collecting some of that money in cash. A lot of these things aren't on leases. It makes it real easy for us to go in and kind of do turns. So, I mean, everybody's situation is different. And I think if you seek first to understand the seller and know more about real estate in general, not just a strategy, I think the whole world kind of opens up to you when it comes to investment.
Bro,
that's really good.
So good. I have two questions. The first one is real quick. The multifamily that you're in now, is it like what size? Is this like 3 units to
13 units, 7 units in one building, 6 in the other. 12 of them are 2-1s. One of them is a 1-1. 3 garages on each side and a ton of deferred maintenance. Ton. Nice. So you pull up, there's a dip in the roof, there's some siding missing. The staircases in the front are a little shot. But it's funny because I'm a little bit older, right? I mean I've got some years on you guys. So a lot of the people my age and older like to do business face to face, belly to belly. And this lead had come to a partner of mine, and he literally took a flight into Charlotte. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. So he took a flight into Charlotte. We went out to Raleigh. We met with the owner of this building, and the building's up in Virginia. And then from there, after we sat down, I've got all of these conversations recorded too, and I have yet to kind of put them out on social media. People are like, man, we want to hear you negotiate. I'm like, I got a vault of stuff that I'm going to kind of let out slowly here. Live negotiations where we would meet somebody face to face. And then as soon as we got done with that initial meeting, we didn't talk anything about money other than we knew what he was asking for. We would then meet at this piece of property. And then when we're walking around the piece of property with the owner, we're constantly trying to gather information to leverage against him. Ultimately, he had a $1.5 million ask on this piece of property. I got a $475,000 reduction and put it under contract for $1,025,000.
Dang.
Huge
value add play too. Huge as it sits, which is key.
That's dope.
Good stuff, brother.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I love how what I really wanted to to dive into though. I love how you talked about it's not about the numbers, right? Like I always talk about it's never about the house, right? It's always why, right? Like we always, and it's funny because I do this with my team all the time, and they think it's funny, but I'm being dead serious. But like a lot of times, a seller would say, they'll ask a seller, "Well, what's got you looking to sell?" Like, "Oh, because I want to move." I get it. I know you want to move, but why? What's got you looking to move? Right? Like it's always another why, right? And we want to dig deeper to what's really going on. Why is that so important, especially when it comes to seller finance deals?
Playing the player. You're literally playing the player. And we had a training today, and I got a girl in my class. Her name is Christian, and there's only a very select few who come through that training that get it. Here's where you get really dangerous, Daryl. When you get so good at being able to frame everything up and see through all the numbers and all the things that other people think are important, and you understand the math, it's like through the roof, right? Yeah. Because you know where the money's going. So we had this girl in my class today, and I could see her in the thing. She's like, "Oh my God, I got it. And I go, "You look like me when I knew that I had it, because I know something people don't know." I was jumping around, going to the whiteboard at like 3 a.m. with my wife going, "What we can do." And I'm spitting out numbers. And now it's all about how do we sequence that up? How do we sequence it up and frame up these conversations so we put the sellers on their heels and we don't allow them to lie to us? It's such a great little dance of like just trying to figure out the who, what, where, why, and when of everything, It's amazing. It's amazing when you can really when you can paint a picture. It's almost like being an artist. I mean, I hate to say it that way. I'm a little bit of an artsy guy, but it's really painting a picture, man.
That's what sales is. Sales is an art, bro. So I think it really boils down to two different things. I think one thing, being able to extract as much information as possible. To Daryl, to your point, right? You were just talking about your team, how they'll say, "Oh, because the seller just wants to move," right? That might be a reason that they want to sell. Literally today, I was on a call with my sales guy, and I'm talking about a lead, and I'm like, "Hey, give me the rundown of like why this guy would ever sell his property." And he gave me like maybe one or two things. And I'm like, "Bro, I should literally be here like tapping my toes. Like, dude, all right, are you going to stop? You should be saying, oh, well, he wants to move into this area. He wants this type of house for this type of reason. He needs this many stairs. He needs the driveway to be this length. He needs literally the whole entire story." And I'm like, I should be sitting here like annoyed by you telling me how much this guy needs. And if all you're giving me is one or two sentences, then this isn't a deal. So what happened is he hopped on a call, and it was literally like a 10-minute call, and he gave an offer in 10 minutes. Dow, do you think we should be giving an offer on a 10-minute call?
Probably not. No.
Hell no. Like, dude, how do you get enough information to give somebody an offer in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Like, dude, I'm talking to sellers for hours sometimes before I give an offer. You know what I mean? That's because like I'm gathering so much information so that if I ever hopped in a call with somebody and somebody said, "Hey, why would that person ever want to sell?" I'm literally sitting here. I don't have enough fingers on my hands to tell you the reasons why they want to sell. Like, you should get the whole entire story. So there's one thing, right? The story, being good, and that's just being a good salesman, like being good at sales, extracting the information, extracting the whole story. And then the second thing, it sounds like, is the underwriting, right? The finances and stuff that you're talking about. And I think that's like one thing, Mike, you're really, really good at like extracting information from people. But I think your biggest superpower is really just like on the click of a dime, like snap of a finger, you can understand the numbers quick.
Off the top of the head,
It's just built into you.
Yeah.
So explain, how does somebody get that?
Oh boy. You've got to fall in love with I think I fell in love with being able to realize that I could do everything that a bank can do. And when I knew where the money was going, whether it was principal or interest, and how we kind of get to a certain point, is when I absolutely fell in love with it, because I knew I could negotiate all of the points of the deal, right? I could negotiate the purchase price, the down payment, the interest, the actual payment amount.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you really quick. So you said what a bank can do, right? Break that down a little bit, because somebody's like, "Wait, what are you talking about? I thought we were talking about real estate. Why are you talking about banks?" Right? So, but I feel like this can go into multiple different types of things. This could go into a sub two deal, like a seller finance deal, a cash deal, like whatever. But I think you have something here with talking about how banks operate. Like, and it might have went over somebody's head. Like, wait, why is he talking about banks? So what about the banks? Like, why do you have to understand that?
Well, I mean, I think traditionally people think that they need to go to a bank in order to buy a piece of property, right?
Yeah.
95% of the population think like that. I thought like that at one point, right? I got to go to, how am I going to do it? I don't have the money. How am I going to get the money to buy this house? Then you'd watch these infomercials, or you'd watch other people doing it, and you're like, well, how the hell are they doing it? And it's as simple as understanding the home buying process and the loan process. So somebody wants to go and buy a piece of property traditionally, the bank is going to ask for a certain amount of requirements in order for them to qualify for the loan. Depending on how credit worthy you are, they're going to determine an interest rate, and then they're going to give you a term. And I think what most people don't understand is that you can pay off that loan early, right? Any one of us can just, even if we weren't in real estate, right? We could take out a 30-year loan with Bank of America. We could run to the convenience store, scratch off, win $1 million, and go, I'm going to pay the house off.
Mm-hmm.
So when you understand that the money is in the time that you're able to get from the seller, it's when you go, oh my God, I'm getting what the bank is getting interest wise or principal pay down wise. And how does that affect me as the investor? So if a bank issues a loan, they amortize the loan, right? They give you a period. It says, hey, listen, this thing's got to be paid off in 30 years. And here's the interest rate. And every single month, there's a certain amount of money that's going to principal. There's a certain amount of money that's going to interest. And if you really study an amortization calculator,
bro, what is real quick? What does amortization mean for the people who have no clue?
Yes. So it is nothing more than the term of the loan coupled with the interest rate and how the interest plays into that loan. So in other words, if it's a $300,000 loan at 6% interest, maybe there's $120,000 worth of interest over the 30 years. And a certain portion of that payment is going to get applied to principal, and a certain portion of your monthly payment is going to get applied to interest. So it's nothing more than the term of the loan and the interest. That's all connected in there in super easy crayon language for people to understand, and how it gets paid off over time. It's as simple as that.
So it's like a payment schedule, pretty much.
Exactly. Yep. It's a payment schedule or an amortization table or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
And ultimately, when you realize that a seller's house that's full of equity that might want to sell you the house on an installment sale, or what people would refer to as seller finance or owner carry, and you can structure those deals so that you receive the most amount in principal pay down and you don't pay a lot in interest, if you do pay interest at all, is when you look at where the numbers go and you go, why would I wholesale a piece of property? Like, why would I not take the ladder and throw it up against the tree, climb the ladder, pick the ripest fruit, rather than this low-hanging fruit that I'm going to get these quick clips of money, this 30,000, 20,000, 25,000. Again, if you're doing it at scale, like my man Eric Klein, I get it. It's hard to pull away from that, man, when you're doing that kind of money. But if you understand where the money goes, that it is an absolute game changer on how you can just create wealth for yourself. You're doing exactly what the banks can do. I don't think people understand that they can do everything the banks can do. They can loan money, they can draft notes, they can do all these different things. But yeah, it's just it's so much easier to be able to try to buy a piece of property where you can give sellers what they want. Ultimately, you wind up making more money. They wind up making more money in the long run, depending on what you structure. But the real trick, to Mike's point, is like to be able to do it off the top of your head. Number one, be able to frame it up, seek to understand the intention of the seller, be able to do it off the top of your head and do it not so much live, because these aren't one call closes like it would be, maybe sometimes on a wholesale deal. But understand how to negotiate all of the pieces of the puzzle is just it's just eye-opening. It's eye-opening.
Do you ever sell any of the notes that you create?
So I don't sell anything on a wrap. I own. Here's what I do.
Well, not really on a wrap, but like to a note buyer, to somebody who's just gonna buy a note.
No, I don't. Nope. I want everything that's coming to me, man. I want the cash flow. I want the leverage. I want the tax advantages, and I want the appreciation. I want them all. Notes, I'm just getting the cash flow.
I love it. I love it.
I want them all, man.
I love that. Yeah, because there's so many different benefits that you can get with actually owning the deal. Like some people notes, like they think that we're talking about a notebook or something. They don't even know what the heck we're talking about.
Yeah.
Notes is pretty much just like the term, right? The term in itself. The bank has a note. What happens is when you owe money to somebody, that IOU is created in a note, and that note is worth money, and people will sell those notes. So that's what it is.
Yeah. So to Daryl's point before, like I don't create notes either, right? So I'm not selling them on a wrap. I'm not buying something on seller finance and then selling it on a wrap mortgage and creating paper. A lot of people that create paper. That's a great strategy, because in the eyes of the bank, when you're the one owed the money, the bank loves you.
Right. For sure.
And you are essentially a bank at that point.
At that point, yeah.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, the banks are the richest in the world, right? But the banks do not think about this. The banks do not get all the benefits by having all these notes. They're pretty much just getting that's active income if you really think about it. Mm-hmm. They got to go out and hustle and bustle and get somebody to get a mortgage. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's not active. It's yeah. Let's get into some church announcements really quick, and then we'll rapid fire some questions to Kash. Now, what do you got for church announcements, dog?
Just join the Discord. Join the Discord if you have not joined the Discord already. I believe we're about 300 people strong in there. We do.
Damn, bro.
Yeah, we've been jumping, bro. It's been moving. We do role plays in there daily. Call calibrations, and I have a lot more that's in store for the Discord. So if you guys are not in the Discord, jump in that Discord right now for sure. What you got,
bro,
Mike?
I've been hearing so much stuff about that Discord.
It's been jumping, bro.
It's been jumping, bro. I got the notifications on my phone, and people are just in there crushing stuff. They're crushing seller calls, role plays together, and I'm like, holy crap. Dog Pound gang, bro.
Dog Pound, baby. Yo, I'm opening up. I'm actually opening up a virtual office in the Discord. So when people, because making calls is
can this guy give any more value? Holy crap!
Yeah,
people are spoiled, dog.
Bro, I mean, think about it, bro. Because I'm just doing what I wanted and some things that I had access to when I was getting started. You know what I'm saying? So virtual office, it gets freaking lonely making calls sometimes, especially if you're getting told no all the time. People are cursing you out, and if you can do it in a room full of other people who are also getting cursed out, You know what I'm saying? It's gonna make you feel less.
Hell yeah, that's fun,
like
bro.
shit, right? It's more fun, right? You could do things like come up with a word of the day, right? Let's see how many people can say a funny word in the day. That's what we used to do in the virtual office. So, you know, I want to recreate that and just give everybody the tools in there to get their very first deal. You know what I'm saying? And build a community of people helping each other, right? I don't even spend much time in the Discord. It's ran by the community. It's ran by itself. You know what I'm saying?
Fire. So good.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I'm same old stuff, bro. The Facebook group, same thing like Daryl. Like this Facebook group is, I'm trying to get it really jumping. Like I'm not messing around with this Facebook group. We're about to do a Zoom next week, right? Somebody asked, they're like, hey, I need to get my first deal. I've been struggling to get my first deal. I want to get it done in the first quarter. Okay. So I'm like, okay, let's hop on a Zoom solely for the Facebook group. Nobody else can get on the Zoom unless you're in the Facebook group. But let's do a Zoom breaking down how we get homeboy his first deal in the quarter. Like play by play, straight blueprint on how we get you your first deal. And if you don't get your first deal, then it's just because you did not take the action. So that Zoom is going to be next week. But yeah, we're hosting Zooms out of there. I'm posting my seller calls, doing all the things. You want to be in that Facebook group. What after this live is over, I'm going to drop in the description on my YouTube page. I'm going to drop the link. But if you go to joinblueprintrei.com, joinblueprintrei.com, you'll get the link and you'll be able to get in that Facebook group. So
you have a link for us, bro?
Yeah, joinblueprintrei.com. I think I have it in here. Let me see. Right there. Yeah, bro. So Kash, let's get into like some rapid fire questions. Very first one, I want to hammer. Right? What we're gonna do is we're gonna give you like two different things, and you gotta pick one and say why. Okay. So the first one, and I was gonna save this for last, but I want to start it off with a bang. Okay. Seller finance or subject to?
Seller finance all day long. The least risky strategy of any of the strategies that you can deploy. You can make the most money with seller finance. You control a lot of it. So yeah, seller finance all day. I'm not a fan of subject to. That's just me though.
Okay, so you're saying you can make the most money off of seller finance. I'm gonna assume maybe you're talking about long term.
Everything I do is long term.
Okay.
I should probably preface this by saying I don't sell property.
I'm curious as to what you don't like about sub 2, bro.
I think there's a lot of risk for sub 2. I've been around a lot of guys, and I don't do a lot of sub 2. I've got one now that I actually absolutely hate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love the idea, and I've been around a lot of guys who own a bunch of them, and obviously it's the due on sale clause, and there's no real way around it. I know you talk to somebody like maybe Uncle Charles over at HBHS, who's an absolute killer when it comes to subject to, and he'll talk to you about maybe putting the property into a trust and ultimately getting the banks to modify the terms. But ultimately, it's the due on sale clause. If the interest, the insurance and the taxes are escrowed inside the monthly payment, and something catastrophic happens, that bank is listed as first loss payee on that stuff. Now, I've heard other guys say, "Hey, well, you just put another insurance policy on it, and you go ahead and you put the claim under that." But I've got guys that have done 8 deals and had 5 called due. So I'm not a fan, and I don't think it's the right thing for. I don't technically think it's the right thing for newer investors either, because if it does get called due, it's like, what happens? And then you hear other people say, well, you just redeed it back to the owner. But what if you started depreciating the property and there's no cost basis there? It gets a little bit tricky. So I'm not a big fan of sub 2 for those bulk of reasons.
I love it. It's a good point. It's a good point. Yeah, no, because we definitely say the same thing, right? Like if due on sale clause happens and we just redeed it back to the property, what happened for you said your friend had like 5 due on sale clauses?
He had 8 sub 2s and 5 called due.
What did he do?
Always the insurance component.
So let's dig into that though. Like, for somebody who might be listening that doesn't understand what Mike is saying, when you take a property down subject to, let's start there. You're buying the property with the mortgage currently in place. And a lot of the times on a mortgage, there's not only the interest payment and the principal payment that Mike's been talking about this whole entire night, but there's also the taxes and the insurance payment connected in that mortgage payment as well. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes.
And what you're saying is when you do a subject to, since that insurance payment is already factored into the mortgage payment, like that kind of messes it up.
Well, I mean, let's just say you take over something subject to the taxes and the insurance are escrowed inside the payment, and catastrophically, hypothetically, the house burns down.
Okay.
And you've put another insurance policy on that piece of property. The bank is listed as loss payee, right, on the insurance. So, I mean, that insurance is listed as loss payee. So that I'm not saying that you can't make money with subject to. I think you can make money with subject to, but one of two things is going to happen. You're either going to get the loan call due, or you're going to court. And you're going to go to court and you're going to prove that you've been making payments on behalf of the seller. Right. And, there's just so many what ifs, like what really prevents the seller from filing bankruptcy 3 years down the road.
Right. So really at the end of the day, like the question was subject to or seller finance. Like seller finance, you have nothing to worry about.
Seller finance, super clean, right? Regular title, the way title would go, abstract, the whole 9 yards, super clean. The only thing is that you are getting the owner to be the bank for you. They've got no control unless you miss your payments, right? So for people who have a primary, they go, I own my house. And I go, is there a mortgage on it? And they go, yeah. I go, stop making your payments and find out who really owns the house.
I like that. No, that's
find out who really owns the house, right?
That's interesting though that you say that. So seller finance is honestly kind of safer than buying a property with cash from a hard money lender.
I think seller finance is the least risk of all of them. And it's been around for so long. And if you look back to like when Robert Kiyosaki got started and you read some old articles on him, or you watched old carton sheets, late night stuff, it was all about no money down houses. And that's exactly what it is. It's owner carry, seller carry, the least risky strategy. The owner can't come to you and say, I want the house back. They're merely the note holder secured by either a deed of trust or a mortgage. And as long as you are on time with your payments and you structure it the right way, you can make a ton of money. Ton. The real way to make real good money in that game is to not really bring up interest at all and try to find out what kind of monthly payments the seller is comfortable with. So you don't kind of shoot yourself in the foot and go, well, I can give you X amount of interest or whatever. And that's the reason why even at wholesale or cash, you're trying to get the number from the seller first, right? You might say something that is bad. So it really works the same way with seller finance. The only difference is that I'm getting paid every month and wholesalers are getting paid once.
Love it.
Cash, can you talk about this is kind of a rapid fire question, but can you talk about your favorite seller finance deal that you've ever done?
My favorite seller finance deal that I've ever done for everybody was my student Luke Nestler. You've seen him out on my Instagram pages. I was slightly jealous.
Homeboy's crushing it, dog.
Yeah, he's doing real well.
Did he do any real estate deals or anything before he was with you?
Oh, so yeah, he owned a couple of houses in Ohio. And he wasn't really sure that he can get into multifamily, right? He had no idea about multifamily.
Yeah. So he owned a couple of single families?
Yep. And he was out on Instagram, the power of social media, just journeying what he was doing, right? Just putting it on film. And somebody had reached out to him and said, hey, listen, there's this sixplex. You should take a look at it. And he was 5 days into the training and he shot me a text. He goes, I think I got a deal. And I said, man, I don't know if he knows if he's got a deal or not. And I structured, underwrote, and had him pitch the deal And that was the best deal that I've ever underwritten in my entire life. That's a crazy deal. We underwrote that thing at a sixplex. Each of them were renting between 975 and 850. We had it underwritten at 1200 as it sat without putting any money into it. And he's got a short-term play. He's got 2 of them rented at $2,500 a piece.
Holy
so
crap.
here's a real good example on how you could turn a 6plex into a 12plex without ever having to build another unit. It's crazy. The craziest deal.
I think you just answered what my next question was going to be. My next question was going to be multifamily or single family?
Multifamily all day. Not only it's just so much easier. And I think people are so intimidated by it because they go, "Ooh, it's multifamily." Well, if you can underwrite a single family, you can underwrite a multifamily. There's a few more things that might have to take place there. Maybe there's some like outside utilities, or maybe there whatever. But the value add opportunity there is so huge. Absolutely huge. And it's so much easier to manage a 10 unit than it is to manage 10 singles.
Okay. I like that. You're talking about value add, right?
Yeah.
Why is value add? Why do you have more opportunity to do value add in multifamily than you do in single family?
There are so many people who buy buildings that have bought buildings 20 and 30 years ago, 20, 25 years ago, that maybe their mindset for investment was always appreciation. Us three are looking for, we buy cash flow, right? We're not buying appreciation. And cash flow was kind of reserved for like the upper echelon of investor way back when. So if those buyers had a little bit of money that they could afford something like a 5plex, 8plex, or a 6plex, or a 10plex over a single family, they were kind of sitting at the top of the heap. And what happens when you get into an investment? You're excited. You get in there, you're excited, you're ready to go. If I brought a 13 unit to us three right now, all 3 of us would be like, let's go. We can't wait to add the value to this thing. We get in there, maybe there's some sweat equity, maybe there's not. We hire a contractor, whatever it may be, and these things start to churn out cash, and life starts to take over, and 1 unit goes vacant. And when 1 unit goes vacant, maybe they try to get a tenant in there, and maybe that's a pain in the ass to deal with. And it's there, but they're still making money. And then another unit goes vacant, and they're still making money. And then another unit goes vacant, and they're still making money. And then it gets a little bit tight, so they're like, listen, if you come on in, I'll give you a break, and you guys can pay me in cash. And then they start collecting cash. And then it's all this deferred maintenance. You can't show me any P&Ls. And there's so much opportunity in that space alone.
Because they just don't know.
They just don't know. And the banks, I mean, technically, these buildings are unfinanceable to a point where an investor like us, or investors like us, like it doesn't make sense. You can't go back to a bank with a shoebox full of cash and go, look at how great I'm doing. I'm going to tell you to get out of the bank. So, having everything in order is just key. And like on this 13 unit, this is a guy, they bought it for appreciation and thought they were buying a triple net lease. And I'm like, this is multifamily. This isn't triple net. Triple net is no management. He goes, well, that's what we thought we were buying. And then I realized I had to deal with the tenants. And then I realized I had to deal with the contractors. And then I realized I had to deal with this. And it just opened up the door. We actually paid less for that building than what they bought it for. 7 years. Yeah, it's crazy.
On seller finance too?
No, this is traditional. We didn't take this down seller
finance. That was a 13 unit.
Yep. We got Mike.
Did you try to do seller finance with them?
I tried to assume the loan. That's another good thing about like the multifamily play, is that all of those loans are either fixed for a certain amount of time, and then they're variable, or they're all variable. And where we're coming into right now, there's a lot of resets going on. So there's a lot of opportunity there.
What you just said is crazy. a lot of people don't know the difference between assuming a loan and taking the property over subject to. Like they're completely two different things.
Yeah.
So what assuming the loan is, it's literally Mike going to the bank and saying, "Hey, I want to buy Daryl's house. Daryl has this mortgage of $100,000 or whatever, right? Why don't I just take over the terms of Daryl's loan and put my name on his loan? But then Mike has to go and apply for the loan and go through the whole entire things of getting approved for Daryl's loan. But the cool thing about it is Mike now has, it's pretty much just like a very safe way to do subject to, you know what I mean? But you're actually having the mortgage in your name, but you have to go through the whole process of, underwriting and all that stuff. But if your credentials are good and the loan is assumable, then you're in the game. So what you're saying, and I'm not even aware of this, you're saying those types of deals, a lot of the loans are assumable.
So not only are they assumable, but you have to make sure that the numbers make sense, because a lot of them are amortized over 20 or 25 years. They're not amortized over 30. And then the call period is usually somewhere between 5 and 10. So like this loan was a 7 and 7, which means that it was a 7-year call and it readjusts every 7 months and follows the prime rate.
Okay.
So as the feds raise the interest rate,
it's going
the prime rate goes up. They have it in their note where they're prime plus 1. So imagine going from 7 months ago, you could have went back and fixed your debt, right? You could have fixed it at 4% and you didn't take the opportunity to fix it. Now the Fed raises the rate. And now your payment goes from $4,000 a month to $8,000 a month with no end in sight. And it's like, well, maybe I should go try to get them rented now.
So that might be a good opportunity, like a list for people to pull.
Yeah, I mean, if you're pulling lists, yeah. I mean, a high equity list is going to be a great list to pull. Multifamily list, I don't pull lists. I lead gen a little bit differently than a lot of other people, but yeah, yeah, you can go ahead and pull lists, multifamily lists. A really good way to lead gen is on GIS maps. Everybody's
GIS.
GIS. Understanding the codes, the zoning ordinances or the zoning codes for whatever area you're working in. Like instead of driving around trying to find multifamily plays, you could just zone in on the multifamily area, and then you could target that area. And it's just a lot easier. You don't have to waste a lot of time going all over the place, or maybe you're pulling lists that aren't so accurate, right? 1 to 4 units residential, 5 and above commercial. I know sometimes on like prop or batch, those two will get confused. But GIS maps, man, is a great place. So understanding real estate at a higher level, not just the acquisition strategy, like, hey, here's a piece of property. Here's what we can do with it. Here's what the real value is in what you can turn the property into.
Yeah.
Like what you can do with it later on down the line. So you find a piece of property, you understand the zoning, you take a big, broad bird's eye view and say, all right, listen, like, this is where some of the growth is moving to, and you kind of stay right on that line. Like in Charlotte, all of these areas around the country are all set up the same way. They're set up just like a bullseye. So you take Charlotte as like a center point, and there's a highway that goes around it called 485. And inside of that circle, all the competition is hot because it's so close to the city. You go to Jacksonville, it's Jacksonville, and there's 295, and inside 295, it's hot.
Yeah.
You go to Dallas, and it's 635, and it's hot. So what you want to do is, I mean, at least the way I lead gen is I look for those main veins that bring me into the city. And then I want to stay as close as I can to that vein. So it's easy for a guy like me who maybe works for P&G, or I work for Bank of America, and I don't want to live inside the city because I got a young family or whatever it may be. I can find pieces of property that are super easy for me to dip in and out of, take that and overlay that with the GIS ordinance for whatever area you're in, and you can find stuff all day long.
This guy is giving y'all some sauce,
bro.
Like, ain't nobody talking about that, bro. Nobody's talking about GIS maps and
Nobody wants to do the work, man.
Bro, that is so freaking good. Daryll, do you have any more quick questions for him?
Nah, bro. Mike,
Let's go on for another hour.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I'm busting, man. I'm ready when you guys are. Whatever's good for you is good for me.
So one thing I was going to ask is, like when prospecting for seller finance, like you're the seller finance guy. Okay. So it's probably important for you to just be like, bro, let me just take my time and energy to really try to find seller finance deals. So let's just say there's a wholesaler watching right now and they're like, dang, Mike is talking about this crazy seller finance strategy and I want to go get him deals. Like, where should I point the cannon?
I'm an educator. I spend my time and energy educating people on seller finance. I source my own deals. I got a team of people where we do starting to get into larger multifamily deals. So I'm not so concerned with students or people bringing me deals. I'm more concerned with showing wholesalers or people who are just getting started what's possible. Because when you see what's possible, you can do amazing things when you start to open up your mind a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, I can talk to you all day about prospecting and how to do it and how to pull lists and everything else. But the reality is that you've got to get immersed in real estate. You can't just come in here and be like, I'm going to start. Yeah, I mean, it's great that you do wholesale, right? I'm not saying you guys, I'm just saying people in general. It's a great place to start. But if I polled 100% of your viewers today and I asked them what the long-term goal is, I bet you 100 out of 100 is going to say, I want to own rentals.
Yeah, that's everybody's end goal, right? Everybody's like, hey, I want to wholesale. Whenever I ask somebody, like, what are they looking to accomplish in real estate? They say, I want to wholesale, I want to fix and flip, and then I want to buy and hold. And I'm like, why? And they're like, I don't know. I just thought that's what you're supposed to do.
Yep.
I eventually just want to own rentals because I want passive income and I want to build generational wealth. That's everybody's answer, right? And they just instilled in their brains, okay, I got to wholesale first. I got to fix and flip first. I got to buy and hold first. I don't think that is necessarily true.
Not at all.
I think if you're 100% wholesaling is going to help you understand real estate, right? You're going to have to understand how to underwrite deals and stuff like that to make sure you're locking up actually good deals or you'll never have a business. So wholesale is like your entry. But for me, I really think the main reason to wholesale is really to free yourself from a job. It's to replace your job. It's very hard to just go buy and hold, right? And get out of your job. But if you want to get out of your job quick and build a scalable business that you can lift yourself out of, that you only have to work maybe an hour or two a day in, that's going to make you 50 to 100 grand. It's very simple to do that. Not simple. Actually, I'm going to say it's simple, but not easy to do that within a year or two. Okay. So you guys listening, everybody's like, you got to do like $1 million a month in wholesale. And no. You don't want to do that. That would suck. I would never want to do $1 million a month in wholesale, but I'm thinking, why don't I just build a business that's going to generate me 50 to 100,000 to 50,000 to 100,000 bucks a month. That way I never have to go get a job, keep that thing beating like a heartbeat, and then go do the multifamily stuff. Right. But somebody like Kash is like, dude, I'm already stable. I've already done my hustling through my days. I've done my hustling, bustling. I'm, sitting on my cash. I'm good. I'm okay. I got to go tackle a multifamily now. So that I'm talking to somebody like a doctor or something like that. Because here's what happens. People will go listen to a wholesale podcast or something like that, right? And they will tell them, hey, in order for you to start doing deals, this is the steps you got to take. You got to wholesale, you got to fix and flip, and then you got to buy and hold. And then the doctor who has who has like a $250,000 business, who never has the time to wholesale, is sitting here hiring virtual assistants and everything like that, when that's not what they should be doing. They should be focusing on the last one.
The problem with wholesale, in my opinion, is yes, it's a great way to stack cash, but it keeps you in that mentality. And in order to get to wealth, You've got to have a mind shift.
I love that, dude. It's like freaking. It's like selling drugs, bro. People get caught in the streets because it's quick cash.
It's quick cash, and then
Yep.
it's really not that hard to scale that business.
Yep.
It's not that difficult. The difficult part about that business is getting the training in order to make sure that everybody's firing on the same cylinder.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You pull a list, you upload a list to a dialer, you skip trace it, you give it to a VA. A VA is going to push it to your CRM. Your closer is going to pick it up, close deal. Right? You say it all the time: prospects, leads, conversions. You got to fill those 3 cups.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what happens is that if you scale that business and you're making 30, 40, 50 racks every single deal, it's so difficult to get that mind shift from like this stack of cash to like, I've got all this cash, I'm living good, like I'm out on the boat with my girl and the Ferrari and all this other stuff. And it's like, but if you just took this money and you shifted this money over into this asset that's going to continually pay you year over year, month over month for the rest of your life, and then any of this income that you get from your wholesale business, like you're talking about, Mike, and you continually shift it over as if you don't have it, in 4 years, you'll look back and be like,
screw the wholesale business.
Yeah, like wholesale, schmosale, like wholesale is like, yeah, it's a fantastic way to get into it, but
you know what wholesale is? Wholesale is a cool way to burn out.
That's a great way to put it.
You don't have a plan.
It's a great way to put it.
If you're just like, dude, I'm just building the freaking wholesale beast, and this is my baby, and I want to ride this thing until the freaking wheels fall off. It's a good way to burn out, right? If you don't have that, the other tables I call them other tables. It's like maybe going and building your fix and flip business and building your buy and hold business, building all these other businesses. Like, dude, you do not want to just be in wholesale forever. Like, you will burn out. This is not the business that you want to just scale out forever. This is a really good business, though, if you want to make $50,000 to $100,000 a month and get the hell out of your get out of your 9-to-5 job. That's my thing with wholesale. Mike, we appreciate you coming on here, big dog. This is great. Mike has been on my channel multiple times. He freaking sets the stage on fire whenever he comes on the channel. Mike, where do people find you at, for one? And then for two, I know you have some things coming up, like some events and stuff like that. Could you talk about them before we head out?
Yeah, sure. February 3rd, 4th, and 5th, I'll be in Houston next week, speaking at a 10 Growth. I'll be there in Houston that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. February 15th, I'll be in San Antonio. I'll be speaking there. You can find me at Kash Money Mike _. And then March 2, 3, and 4, my man Eric Klein and myself, the absolute top of the food chain when it comes to sales, and myself, high-level creative real estate coupled with high-level sales. We're going to marry those two worlds. We've got an in-person 3-day live in Raleigh, North Carolina. Eric's got a brand new office over there, about 6,000 square feet. We're only taking 40 people. We're about halfway sold out. It's only been about a week. So if anybody's interested in that, you could just shoot me a DM and I'll get you connected. And yeah, man, just a bunch of podcasts, bunch of travel, bunch of stuff going on. So yeah.
So good, bro.
Let's go.
So what did you say? What was the first one?
The first one is next weekend, February 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I'm going to be in Houston. Ricardo
is physically in Houston.
Yep.
And then San Antonio after that?
I'll be speaking in Houston. I'll be speaking in San Antonio on February 15th. And then I will be live and in person March 2nd, 3rd, and 4th with my man Eric.
And are the tickets available for all three of those?
Tickets are available for all three of those. I think the VIP for Eric and I's event is close to sold out. Maybe there's 2 more left, but there are some general admission. For anybody who's watching here, like if you really want to try to get to, I know there's a lot of people out here selling a bunch of stuff, but there's 2 things that you absolutely need to understand inside this business, or any business, is going to be what you're selling and how you sell it. So you need to understand a strategy and you need to understand sales. and it's a super exclusive mastermind that we put together that we're taking the best of both worlds and we're going to kind of marry them and make it so easy for people to pitch creative deals, underwrite creative deals. He's got a massive scaled operation. He's doing $250,000, $300,000 a month out of that office on 3 closers. So again, right,
Holy
simple, yeah, crazy. So just understanding it at a better level, that's a great event to get into, and a good chance to get over to Raleigh to the East Coast. Maybe put the East Coast on the map for a little while, man. I know Arizona.
Can we, bro?
Yeah.
Can we? Yo, listen, me and Cash, we talked earlier today. We got some plans for y'all for the East Coast, man.
Let's
y'all
go.
not ready. The East Coast needs to step it up, bro. We got all these people out in Arizona, California, out in the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? But we need to start banding together up here in the East.
Yeah, I'm making a stop up in Massachusetts. That's for sure. It's gonna be a good one.
That's gonna be crazy.
Let's
Y'all
go.
not ready for that.
They're
That
not
shit,
ready,
Daryl might have to take a flight for that one,
Hey,
bro.
Daryl better be there, man.
Have to pull up.
What's
I
up?
think I got
Hey,
to come out to AZ.
we could do that maybe.
Pull out to AZ.
I'm buying
I'm
a
Boston
sub.
when it's cold, bro.
Say that again.
I'm not going to Boston when it's cold, bro.
I'm actually buying a property in Arizona, so I wouldn't mind going out there and checking it out.
Pull up.
Cool. People, we appreciate y'all. Go follow Kash Money Mike on Instagram if you haven't already, at Kash Money Mike _. You'll be posting all those events, I'm assuming, on your Instagram, right?
Yeah, they can find it on my stories. I'll be promoting for the rest of my life.
So if you guys want to get in any of those events, yo, Kash is gonna kill the stage for one. But two, I know that especially on the third thing that you were talking about, the mastermind, I know Kash, and trust me, Kash pours into people. It's not going to be just like a, hey, I paid whatever dollars to get into this thing and now I left and I don't really feel like I left with anything. Like, you are going to get a crash course. You're going to get poured into. And if you're not ready for it, then just don't go.
Yeah, it'll be damn near impossible to walk out of that event not a better investor.
So freaking good. Love it. Kash, you were the man. We are out. Another episode of Wholesale Hardknocks. Stay tuned for next week. Same time, Wednesday at 7:00 p.m. Eastern time. I don't know what time it is in Arizona right now because not too many people care, but we are out.